Cheetos have a way of painting our skin with that unmistakably orange hue. They're real troublemakers too, often finding the cozy spots between our teeth. But despite all that, there's something magical about them. The cheese powder must have cast a spell on us because we just can't quit munching on the puffiest little snacks ever dreamed up. From animal feed mills to fraudulent conceptions, the story of how Cheetos took over pantries takes one turn after another. So buckle up and get ready to go down this cheetah hole with me. Cheetos has one of the most bizarre creation stories in all of snack food lore. It all begins naturally in the heart of Wisconsin, a place known for its fertile fields and a knack for conjuring up all kinds of culinary marvels through the years. You might not believe it, but Cheetos was first born off a twist of fate. You see, it all unfolded with the Flacco Corporation, a humble animal feed maker nestled in Beloit, Wisconsin. Now, they've been grinding away for a while, their mission being to make that animal field as efficient as possible and, of course, keep those cows from gnawing on any nasty, sharp bits of corn. In a 1932 patent filing, Flacco said this about their animal feed mill. This flaking of the feed is of advantage because it avoids loss of good percentage of material which otherwise is thrown off as dust and gives a material which keeps better in storage by reason of the voids left between the flakes, such as there can be proper aeration, not to mention the important fact that flaked feed is more palatable and easily digested by the animal. The old grinder did its grinding, but it had a pesky habit of getting clogged from time to time. Now, the clever folks working over at Flacco had a little trick up their sleeves. To keep things running smooth, they'd toss some damp corn into the machine, hoping it would help with cleaning. But here's where the magic starts. During this process, a sort of happy accident happened. The moist corn found its way right into the heart of the contraption, and when it finally emerged from the grinder, it didn't come out all flake like they expected. Nope, it swelled up like popcorn, only without those bothersome kernels. And just like that, a bunch of feed-making folks pivoted into making some of the tastiest snack foods around. The tale takes an even twistier twist. You see, there was a fella by the name of Edward Wilson, a sharp-eyed worker at Flacco. One day, he watched those puffs rolling out of the machine and had himself a light bulb moment. He thought, why not take those puffs, jazz them up with some tasty seasonings, and turn them into a delightful human snack. And that's how corn curls came into the world. So the Cheetos you're nibbling on, it all began as animal feed, repurposed into a scrumptious treat fit for us folks. It's a true snack time adventure right from the heart of Wisconsin. This sudden turn of events led to a second patent for Flacco back in 1939. They called it process for preparing food products. It's plain to see that Flacco had stumbled upon a gold mine. In time, they decided to change their name to the Adams Corporation. You see, this name switcheroo was a clever way to divert folks' attention away from the fact that they were dishing out snacks to people that once were meant for cows. See, a little name change can work wonders, I tell ya. But Flacco wasn't the only contender for the throne of cheese curls. Way down in Louisiana, the Elmer Candy Corporation, they claimed to have a shot at being the very first. They whipped up a snack they called Cheewees. And not to be outdone, over in the bustling streets of New York, old London Foods rolled out their own twist on the cheesy treat known as cheese doodle back in the late 1950s. So you see, there were quite a few pioneers in the world of cheesy puffs. The most famous name in the cheese curl business today, the one we know and love, is Cheetos. Well, they weren't the first to the table, but they had a secret weapon, some mighty fine marketing, and a knack for getting those cheesy curls into every nook and cranny. Cheesies burst onto the scene in 1948. Even though they came a tad later than their competitors, the Frito company's take on the cheese curl quickly became the talk of the town. Part of the reason was that Cheetos had already established a national presence thanks to their earlier successes, making them a force to be reckoned with in the snack world. Sometimes it's not about who gets there first, but who knows how to share the goodness far and wide. The fellow who started that Cheetos craze, a Mr. Elmer Doolan, he struck up a deal with H.W. Lay & Company to spread the word about these cheesy delights to folks all across the land. And oh my, Cheetos took off like wildfire. It was so impressive that it played a big part in the merger of Frito and Lay's back in 1961. And if that wasn't enough, just 4 years later, they joined forces with PepsiCo, creating a snacking and beverage powerhouse. So you see, you have Cheetos to thank for the snacking world as we know it today. Chester Cheetah. With a snack this popular, it's only right that the face is iconic as the snack itself, and that's what we have with Chester Cheetah. But he wasn't the only one who had a run at the job. Having a mouse as the mascot for Cheetos just made perfect sense in its own weird way. Mice and cheese, yeah, they're like two peas in a pod, aren't they? Cheetos and that cheesy charm, and in the early 1970s, they introduced their very first character, a rather dashing and multi-talented mouse. It was a match made in snack food heaven. Our buddy Chester Cheetah, who's now a household name, didn't exactly push the Cheetos mouse out of the limelight. By the early 1980s, the mouse's star had already dimmed, and he gracefully stepped aside on his own. Then in 1986, Chester burst onto the scene. Right from the get-go, he was a whole different animal compared to the Cheetos mouse. He had that cool factor, a fiery passion, and a relatable personality that just clicked with snack lovers everywhere. Chester Cheetah had a certain magnetism about him. Now, you'd think a mouse might struggle with self-control around all that cheese, but it was this big cat who just couldn't keep his cool when he saw those bumpy, bright orange snacks. Sometimes even the coolest cats have their moments of weakness. Flamin' Hot Cheetos origins. Now, you can't talk about Cheetos without talking about their signature Flamin' Hot flavor. There have been whispers of a janitor's rags to riches story about inventing the beautifully spicy snack, but the question is any of it true? Listen to the story and see for yourself. After landing himself a janitor gig at the Frito-Lay plant down in sunny Southern California, Richard Montanez had himself quite the adventure. There was a day when a Cheeto-making machine decided to take a break, and it whipped up a batch that was as plain as a pancake without a speck of flavoring. Now, being the inventive soul he is, Richard took that batch home and decided to sprinkle them with some chili powder, and lo and behold, he whipped up a snack that took its inspiration from the street vendors right in his own neighborhood, who'd make the zesty Mexican grilled corn with a dash of lime and chili. After seasoning up those Cheetos with chili powder, Mr. Montanez decided to take his creation straight to the top. You see, Frito-Lay had this program called the Method Improvement Program, where they asked their own employees for new ideas. In his own words, Richard recalls the moment in his memoir. He put on his best $3 tie and found himself in a meeting way back in 1991. There were over 100 people there, including the bigwig CEO and a bunch of other high-up folks. And that's where he bravely pitched his fiery snack concept right in the heart of the action. Flamin' Hot Cheetos caught fire and became a billion-dollar sensation. And our friend Richard, well, he climbed the ladder from being a janitor all the way up to a marketing executive at Frito-Lay. He kept soaring, and by 2019, he decided to hang up his hat and retire. In the late 2000s, he started telling the world that he was the master mastermind behind this spicy sensation, and folks were eager to hear his tale. He began sharing his story far and wide, even taking part in speaking gigs where he'd earn up to a whopping $50,000 per appearance. Sounds too good to be true, right? That's because it is. You see, my dears, sometimes when stories become as big as the Flamin' Hot Cheetos tale, they attract all kinds of attention. In this case, a fellow Frito-Lay employee named Lynn Greenfield, who had been tasked with developing the Flamin' Hot Cheetos brand back in 1989, felt compelled to investigate Richard Montanez's claims. She was also credited by the company for naming and playing a role in bringing the product to market. So with her background in the matter, she took it upon herself to look into the truth of the matter. When Frito-Lay decided to dig into this tale, they didn't hold back. They talked to dozens of employees and pored over company records as part of their investigation. And what did they find? Well, according to a report by The Times that came out in May 2021, the company's official conclusion was this: none of our records show that Richard was involved in any capacity in the Flamin' Hot test market. So it seems there's a bit of mystery surrounding the origins of those fiery Cheetos after all. Greenfield herself had a few words to say about the whole fiasco, saying, "It is disappointing that 20 years later, someone who played no role in this project would begin to claim our experience as his own and then personally profit from it." As the Los Angeles Times shared, it turns out the creation of Flamin' Hot Cheetos was credited to a group of snack food experts who were based at the company's corporate headquarters in Texas, rather than the California plant where Mr. Montanez was employed. What's more, Frito-Lay officials stated that they couldn't find any evidence to support the pitch meeting described in Mr. Montanez's memoir. In a statement, Frito-Lay said that we value Richard's many contributions to our company, especially his insights into Hispanic customers, but we do not credit the creation of Flamin' Hot Cheetos or any Flamin' Hot products to him. Montanez, on the other hand, seems convinced to the core that his story is the honest truth. When the Los Angeles Times story came out, Mr. Montanez had his own side of the tale to share. He mentioned that he never crossed paths with Ms. Greenfield, and he didn't have a clue about what was happening in other parts of the company. He explained that being a janitor and all, there wasn't much paperwork or records that could firmly establish his role in creating the brand. That's why he said the company's investigation couldn't come up with definitive proof. It's a classic case of one man's word against the corporate records. This is what he had to say shortly after his story was debunked. "I don't care what room you're in, there's always somebody in the room that's going to try to steal your destiny. They may even say you never existed. I want you to do this, write down your history, because if you don't, someone else will. Remember that." Scientifically proven to be addicting. Well, at the end of the day, who cares about where it came from? It's addictive nonetheless, and that's a scientific fact. Back in 2013, the New York Times Magazine did some digging and uncovered an interesting tidbit. Frito-Lay, the folks behind Cheetos, poured a whopping $30 million each year into a team of nearly 500 experts. These experts were chemists, psychologists, and technicians, all working hard to achieve the precise level of crunchiness, aroma, and that perfect mouth feel, whatever that is. That delightful melt-in-your-mouth feeling is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to Cheetos. Even though they give their flavors fancy names like crunchy cheddar jalapeno, if you were to compare them to a dish that's packed with a fresh diced jalapeno, even the spiciest Cheetos might seem a tad mild. That's another reason why you can't stop at just one. They keep you coming back for the irresistible mix of flavors and textures. It's a sneaky little snack secret. Well, that combined with MSG. And that, my friends, is how the famous Cheetos came to be. Do you have a story that you can share about this dangerously cheesy snack? Feel free to share it with us in the comments section below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.